The morning it all started was just like any other. Quiet, dew on the grass, and the sound of my horses rustling in the barn. I had just poured myself a cup of coffee when I saw it, a white envelope, taped crookedly to my front gate. At first glance, it looked official. HOA letterhead, bold font, and the kind of legal jargon meant to make you feel small. It read, "You are in violation of HOA Code 8.4, unauthorized agricultural structure. Remove your barn within 30 days. I actually laughed out loud. Unauthorized agricultural structure? My barn's been standing here since before half this neighborhood even existed. I built it myself with my dad's old tools. So I marched straight over to the HOA office that morning. When I walked in, I found Karen, the HOA president. Short blonde hair, oversized sunglasses indoors, and that permanent, I smell something unpleasant expression. She looked up from her computer, unimpressed. "Can I help you?" she asked, like she already hated the idea. "Yes," I said, dropping the letter on her desk. "You can explain why you're trying to evict my barn." She smirked. "It's a violation. The bylaws are clear. No agricultural buildings are permitted in this subdivision. But this was approved before the HOA was even formed," I said. "You can't just change the rules after the fact." Karen tilted her head, that condescending grin never fading. "We're updating the community's image. We want a clean, uniform look. That barn doesn't fit." I almost couldn't believe it. They wanted to tear down a part of my property, my family's history, because it didn't match their aesthetic. I asked to see proof of any violation notice or complaint. She waved her hand. "It's been reported multiple times." "By who?" I asked. "Anonymous," she said, "and honestly, it's not personal." Sure, totally not personal. I left that office fuming. As I walked back to my truck, I noticed something strange. 2 HOA board members standing across the street, whispering and glancing toward my property. One of them held a clipboard. That's when a thought hit me. If they were bold enough to play dirty, I needed to start playing smart. That night, I went online and ordered a set of security cameras, the kind with night vision and motion detection. If the HOA was planning something, I was going to catch every second of it on film. And a week later, I did. It was just past midnight when I heard it, the low hum of a truck engine idling too close to my property line. I sat up in bed, heart pounding, listening. At first, I thought maybe a neighbor's kid had parked nearby. But then came the metallic clank of my gate latch. I slipped out of bed, grabbed my flashlight and peered through the blinds. 2 silhouettes moved along the fence, flashlights in hand, scanning the barn. I didn't move. I didn't even breathe. The next morning, I pulled up the footage from the security cameras I'd installed a few days earlier. My hands were trembling as I watched the black and white video. The timestamp read 12:47 a.m. 2 men, one in a reflective HOA vest, were standing right outside my barn doors, pointing at something on a clipboard. Then one of them said it, clear as day. "We'll mark it tonight. Demolition crew comes Friday." Demolition crew. I swear my coffee went cold in my hand. The HOA wasn't just bluffing. They were planning to secretly demolish my barn. By mid-morning, I was back in that HOA office. Karen was sitting in the same chair, pretending to type something important. I placed my phone on her desk, hit play, and crossed my arms. Her face went pale. I don't know what that is," she stammered. "That's completely unauthorized footage. You can't record people without permission." "Really?" I said. "Because I can also call the sheriff and show him your demolition plan if you'd prefer." She stood up fast. "You're making a big mistake threatening the board. We're within our rights." "No," I interrupted. "You're trespassing." At midnight, with a clipboard and spray paint. For a long moment, she just stared at me, trying to regain control. Then that smug little smile returned. "You can try to fight it, but the notice stands. The barn's coming down Friday." I left before I said something I'd regret. That evening, I sat outside watching the sun dip behind the barn. It hit me then. This wasn't about property codes or aesthetics. Karen wanted my land. Maybe not for herself, but for whatever development deal she was cooking up. I wasn't about to let them bulldoze my history, so I came up with a plan. That night, I called a few old friends, guys who worked construction, people who knew how to move quietly. And by the time Friday rolled around, The HOA would be in for one hell of a surprise. Friday morning came faster than I expected. The sky was grey, heavy with clouds that looked ready to burst. Perfect weather for a showdown, I thought. By 8 a.m., the rumble of diesel engines echoed down my dirt road. I stepped out onto the porch just in time to see a flatbed truck rolling up, followed by a yellow excavator, the kind they use to tear down small houses. Behind them, Karen. She was standing at the edge of the property, arms crossed, clipboard in hand, wearing that self-satisfied grin that made my teeth clench. 2 HOA board members flanked her like bodyguards. I could practically hear her thinking, checkmate. Except, she had no idea the board was walking straight into a trap. I leaned against the porch railing as they approached. Morning, Karen. Didn't expect visitors this early. She smirked. We sent the notice. The deadline passed. The barn's being removed today. I nodded slowly. You're right. You did send that notice. But see, I did a little work of my own. Her smile wavered. Excuse me? Without another word, I pulled out my phone, hit play, and let the security footage roll again, this time with a twist. I'd sent a copy to the county inspector earlier that morning, along with timestamps, license plate numbers, and one small detail Karen had missed. The HOA didn't actually own the land beyond the paved road, meaning they were about to demolish something outside their jurisdiction. Right on cue, a white truck pulled up behind the HOA convoy. Out stepped Deputy Raymond, the same county officer who'd helped me with zoning years ago. Morning, folks, he said, tipping his hat. Got a call about an unauthorized demolition? Karen's smug expression vanished faster than a cat in a thunderstorm. Deputy, this is a community matter. He cut her off. Community matter or not, you stepped 1 foot onto his land with that equipment, and you're looking at trespassing charges. The crew operating the excavator didn't even wait for clarification. They shut the engine off immediately. The tension in the air was thick enough to slice. I kept my voice calm, almost amused. Seems like someone didn't do their homework. Karen's face turned a shade of red I'd never seen before. This isn't over, she snapped. You can't just defy the HOA. Oh, I think I just did. She stormed off, heels crunching in the gravel, shouting something about legal consequences and community standards. The rest of her board followed, mumbling and avoiding eye contact. When their vehicles finally disappeared down the road, I looked over at Deputy Raymond. He grinned. You sure know how to rattle 'em, huh? Just protecting what's mine, I said, smiling back. But what I didn't know, what none of us knew, was that Karen wasn't done. That night, she'd come back with something far worse than an excavator. It was nearly 2 a.m. when the motion alert buzzed on my phone. At first, I thought it was a raccoon or one of the horses brushing against the fence again. But when I opened the live feed, my blood turned cold. Headlights, a white SUV idling by the barn. Then, Karen. She stepped out, flashlight in one hand, something shiny in the other. Spray paint. I hit record. She walked straight up to the barn doors, looking around nervously, then started spraying big red X's across the wood. Condemned, she muttered. Let's see how the county likes this. But she wasn't alone. A second figure emerged from the SUV, another HOA board member, the same one from the midnight footage. He carried a crowbar. I was already out the door before my mind could catch up. My boots hit the gravel hard as I grabbed the flashlight and stormed toward them. Hey, I shouted. They froze like deer in headlights. Karen spun around, her face going pale under the beam of my light. What are you doing on my property at 2 a.m? I demanded. She stammered. You can't just record us like that. Funny, I said. You said the same thing last time. The other guy tried to hide the crowbar behind his back. We were just checking the structure. At 2 a.m, I snapped, with vandalism tools. Karen straightened up, trying to recover that fake authority. You're violating HOA cooperation rules. And I cut her off. Karen, the HOA has no jurisdiction here. None. You've been warned. And now, thanks to these cameras, the sheriff has everything. Right then, my truck's headlights swept across the yard. Deputy Raymond again. I'd texted him the moment the alert came through. He stepped out, flashlight drawn, and took one look at the scene. Well, he said. Caught in the act, huh? Karen's voice cracked. This is harassment. I was protecting community interests. Raymond shook his head. By trespassing and defacing private property. You'll want to think real hard before I hit record on this statement. She tried to protest, but her own board member had already thrown in the towel. Karen, I told you this was too far, he muttered. The deputy escorted them off the property. I watched from the porch, heart pounding, every nerve buzzing with disbelief and anger and relief all mixed together. The next day, the story spread like wildfire. Someone, no idea who, leaked the footage online. The video of the HOA president sneaking around my barn with spray paint went viral in the local community group. By Monday, Karen had resigned. The clean uniform look she wanted for the neighborhood. Yeah, it got a little tarnished by scandal. As for me, I repainted the barn doors, added a fresh coat of red, and mounted a new sign that read, "This barn stands permanently." Sometimes I still catch myself laughing when I drive past the HOA office. They tried to erase a piece of my life for the sake of control, but in the end, all they did was expose themselves. And thanks to one small camera, I caught every second of their dirty plan.